Welcome back to another show and tell video. Today we're taking a look at this item here, but I have this one out here just for a quick reference. What we're looking at are examples of a slide rule, which is a mechanical analog computer typically used for multiplication, division, as well as mathematical functions such as calculating exponents, roots, logarithms, those types of functions, as well as trigonometry types of functions. And this would be used in conjunction with, say, an abacus, a different type of analog computer. And the abacus would do be useful for the addition and subtraction functions. So again, slide rule is more for multiplication, division, and other uh, equation style sort of functions. And a slide rule actually refers to what's considered to be a linear style of computer, let's say, and typically can be accurate to what is considered to be three decimal significant digits. So if you have a decimal point, you typically can go down to three decimal places below the point, I believe. Um, these slide rules typically use scientific notation in order to track order of magnitudes. For example, if numbers are quite large or small, that's how you would actually track them scale wise. And slide rules in general were used from the 17th century, so that would be the 1600s, up until around the mid 20th century when finally uh, portable calculators and computers started becoming more prevalent. Scientific pocket calculators, for example. A little bit more detail about slide rules. They typically use two types of logarithmic scales in order to calculate multiplication and division. And they can be grouped in what's called decades, which measure increments of 1 through 10, and then exponential places for like 10 to the nth power through 10th to the n plus some other digit power. And I can't necessarily show you here on here because of their labeling systems tend to vary between the types of slide rules, but there will be two types of decades, and the description is pretty intuitive. Single decade is considered to be the C and D scales, I believe, which measure 1 through 10 types of increments for the entire length of the slide rule, versus a double decade scale, which is considered the A and B, typically measure areas of 1 through 100 for the full length. And you can actually see quite a difference between the measurements along each types of the scales along the length of this of the slide and the ruler itself. As you can see, there are typically three main components. The frame, which would be these outer components here, as well as the slide portion, and was considered the runner or glass. So let's go ahead and take a look at the one I actually wanted to look at today. Pull this out real quick. And again, the frame, these top and bottom portions per se, the slide, and the runner or glass. And what you have here, the frame would be two linear strips as considered, parallel with a gap between. As you can see here, this whole piece can actually slide out. The slide, which is the center strip, moves lengthwise. It's interlocked, so you see it doesn't fall out because of the tracking uh, ends here, which kind of give it the guides. And then the runner glass also has a pretty tight but movable fit. And you can see here there's a hairline, which is also named the cursor. You can see how that was eventually used in terms of computers today with a mouse-driven cursor. I'm going to flip through my notes here real quick. So there are actually different modes of operation. So depending on, you see different functions on both sides. Uh, Different modes. So I believe there's simplex and duplex modes. Duplex meaning you have scales on both sides of the ruler, and simplex meaning only on one side. And then you have different combinations where you can have scales on both sides of the ruler and the slide strip, or scales on one side of the outer strip and then on two sides of the slide. And if, since the other side would be blank on the frame, you would actually pull out the slide, flip it over, and then reinsert it correctly for legibility, and to face up into the side of the frame that is facing upward. Of course, now that I've pulled this out, I'm having some difficulty putting it back because it is a rather tight fit, but there we go. Orient this back correctly here. Again, the print is very fine on there. Another style is also just one side only, where the entire back side would be blank. The cursor usage of that actually has multi-purposes. You can use this to find corresponding points on scales not adjacent to each other. So, for example, if you're tracking something down here, but you want to see the corresponding value above, you can trace it upwards or downwards of the hairline. Likewise, in duplex mode, you can show on the other side what the hairline is pointing to as well. And the cursor can be used as a recording memory to hold uh, a value point while you work on something else with the slide rule on this side. So you can use this to hold a data point as well. So this one here that we're looking at today is made by Pickett. You can see here it came in this kind of carrying case sheath, leather with a flap. It does have this kind of attachment lanyard loop that can clip onto a belt or maybe other personal equipment as you move about your work day or whatever in academia. And there is some sort of reinforcement body on the inside as well, as you can see here. So this is actually quite firm to protect the contents. And with this little snap here, I'm not going to try to undo that. Take a closer look at this Pickett model. You can see here, patents applied for, and different types of functions on this side, and your ABCDs, values going all the way across. Pickett Inc., Santa Barbara, California. If we flip it over to this side, you can see as well the model number. This would be a model N803-T log speed rule dual base. You can see the different scales there. So I'm kind of sliding this around. You can see how these line up into base mode, I believe, right there. And on this side, you can see the Pickett logo SYNCHRO-SCALE, as well as kind of another two of these little points there. But taking a quick look at this example here, and real quick, just to touch on some other examples of analog computers. This would be considered a circular scale, this proportional scale specialized in calculating, as you can see here, number of times a reduction versus percentage of original size, and then different ratios all around. And this is one of my watches. This is a Citizen Eco Drive Skyhawk, Blue Angels edition. And this would be, I guess, is a solar electronic version of, with still the manual functions of a chronograph and a navitimer and kind of a fuel calculation uh, calculator for pilots as well. So this would be considered another type of analog computer as well. But taking a quick look again, an example of a computer, analog computer, and what is considered to be a slide rule. This has been another show and tell video. Feel free to check out other show and tell videos on vintage milsurp tools and expanded topics. We also do unboxing videos as well as a selection of book review, media reviews, and a series called Curios for the Curious, videos on more artsy type objects. Feel free to check all those out. Feel free to like and subscribe. Thanks for watching. See you next time.